Alright, welcome back to Aesthetic Imaging Video Tutorials. This is part 2 of our fractal noise videos. Last time we did this little ocean top-down shark scene, and then over here we did this guy over here. Alright, and in this video we're going to be making a star, a little space scene, and a little waving flag or cloth. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so this is what we're going to be making next. We have our star, we have a whole bunch of stars in the background, all different kinds of stuff going on. So let's start by creating this. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new composition. We're going to call this star texture. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the width to 1000. And we're going to change the height to 500. So of course for this you want a 2-to-1 ratio. Alright, we got 10 seconds on the duration. Frame rate, you can make it whatever you want. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. Alright, so first thing we're going to do inside of this comp. Let's get rid of these real quick. Alright, so first thing we're going to do in this comp is we're going to right click down in here, go to New, Solid, and we're going to call this Star Fractal 01. Make sure it's the size of the comp and hit OK. Alright, so we're going to go over to Effects and Presets, and we're going to add a fractal noise. Noise and grain, fractal noise. Drop that right down onto our Star Fractal 01. And for this one, I'm going to set the fractal type to progressive or dynamic progressive. All right, we're going to turn up the contrast just a little bit and turn down the brightness just a little. And then we're going to go into subsettings here. And we're going to rotate the sub-rotation to about 180 degrees so that we get this kind of nice energy looking thing. So another thing I'm going to do is going to go to transform over here, go to scale and scale it down a bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on our star fractal down here and we're going to Command D to duplicate it. And we'll just change that 1 to a 2. There we go. And on this fractal noise, we're going to change it back to basic. And we're going to maybe lower the contrast a little bit. Maybe bring down the brightness. Something like that. All right, and we're going to scale it down a little bit more. And for the evolution, we're going to alt-click on the stopwatch. Time times 200. Right, click off that, and now we have our fractal moving. And one thing I realized that I did not put an expression on this evolution, so we're going to go down to evolution for our first fractal that we created. Alt-click on the stopwatch and do time times maybe 150. There we go. There we go. And I think I'm going to bump up the scale just a tiny bit. All right. So the first one, or the top fractal that we have, we're going to set that to lighten. And then we're going to turn it on so we can see what we did. All right, so now we have this. All right, so we're finished with this now. So what we can do is go in our project, click on the new composition, and we're going to change this to 1280 by 720. And we're going to call this Star Main. Hit enter. All right, so now we're going to take our star texture here, and bring it down into our star main. And first thing we want to do is add a CC sphere. So we're going to add our CC sphere over here. And first thing I'm going to do is maybe change the radius, make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to go into the light. I'm going to change this to 0. Change the light intensity to 0. All right. I'm going to open up shading. I'm going to turn ambient to 100. So now on top of that, we're going to add a roughen edges. So we're going to add our roughen edges over here, and it does exactly what the name implies, and it makes the edges rough. So we're going to bring up the border, maybe like so. Edge sharpness, we can kind of bring that up just a bit. Scale, we're going to bring down. Something like that. And then on the evolution, we're going to alt-click on the stopwatch and do time times 175. So now we have this. All right, so now what we're going to do is add a vector blur. All right, so we're going to move our vector blur on top of the layer here. And we're going to change the amount. We're going to bring it up to about 25 or so. And then on the ridge smoothness, we're going to bring that up as well. And then under map softness, we're going to bring that up as well. So about 20 maybe. So next what we want to do is right click, go to new, adjustment layer. And on this, well, first off, we're going to call this star outer. All right, so on this layer, we're going to put on a turbulent displace. And that is under distort, turbulent displace. Put that on there. We're going to bring down the size to maybe something smaller, like 8. And we're going to turn up the amount. Maybe turn down the size just a bit more. Yeah, something like 6. And then for the evolution, alt-click on the stopwatch, time times 200. Maybe turn up the amount just a bit more. Oh, all right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to duplicate our turbulent displace. And so now we have turbulent displace 2, and we can bring up the size. Or bring up the amount, rather. Maybe make the size just a little bit bigger. So now we have this, but what we can do is go down here. If we hit E on the keyboard, it brings up our effects and go to turbulent displace 2. Compositing options. Twirl that open and change the opacity to something like, I don't know, 50%. Yeah, that looks good. So on top of this, we're going to add another vector blur. We're going to bring up the amount, bring up the ridge smoothness here. And bring up the map softness. So now we have all this energy just jumping off of our star. Look at that. Cool. So what we want to do is we actually want to get just make it so it's on the outer edges of this. So what we're going to do, pretty simple. Let's go to our ellipse tool. If your ellipse tool is not selected, let's say if it's a rectangle, what you can do is click on it, hold it down, and bring it to ellipse tool. There we go. And we're going to go to the center here, Shift Command, and drag it over. Like maybe to about there. Then we can hit F on the keyboard to bring up the feather property, and we can just feather that out. Hey, what's up? It's me from the future. Just here to say that somehow I missed a step right after this. So, here in our star outer here, we made our mask, but the problem is I said I wanted it to only be on the edges. Well, it is not on the edges, it is only on the inside. So, if we go to our star outer, press M, we can see our mask, and we want to change that to subtract. Now it's going to look different than this the entire tutorial because I didn't realize that I didn't turn it on. But yes, that is a step that I skipped somehow. So turn the mask from add to subtract to bring it over only onto the edges. All right. All right, so that's our star. Now what we want to do is color it in. So we're going to go to New, Adjustment Layer, and we're going to add a VC Color Vibrance. All right, so what this is, it's a free plugin from Video Copilot.net. And I use it all the time for coloring things. And 32-bit per channel works really well. All right, so we're going to go, again, it's free. So just, go get it. Use it. All right, so we're going to go into the color here and change it to blue. How about that? That looks fine. All right, and that's our star. So we're going to select all three of these comps. You can hit the first one, shift click the bottom one, and we're going to go shift command C to pre-compose it, and we're going to call this star comp. All right, so what we're going to do now is create a glow for our star. So what we can do is take our star comp and we can duplicate it up here in the project settings, not down in here. Because let's see, if you duplicate it within your timeline, if you go into the second one, let's say, we don't want that in there. So go in our star main, we don't have a star anymore. That's because this is the same composition. So we can turn that back on. All right, so instead, like I said, we're gonna duplicate it inside the project window, Command D. So now we have a separate comp called star comp 2. So we can change the name to star glow, hit enter, and we can bring it in here. And first thing we're going to do inside here is create a new solid, and we're going to make it black. We're going to call this black background. Now we can hit shift command open bracket, and that will bring that all the way down to the bottom automatically. You can do the opposite, shift command close bracket, and that actually brings it to the top. And actually command open bracket and close bracket moves it up and down one layer at a time. So that's a cool little trick, little keyboard shortcuts to really speed up your workflow. So we're going to call this glow. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a glow effect. And it's under Stylize Glow. We're going to just drop that down right on there. Bump up the radius a bit. Turn down the glow threshold. And then we're going to turn the glow intensity to about 0.01. Now we just got a little bit of a glow here. So then we're going to go and duplicate our glow again. And this time we're going to set the radius to be bigger. Maybe duplicate it again and make another bigger one. Make it even bigger still. I don't know. Up to you. All right, so we're going to go back into our star main. And we're going to set the star glow to screen. And actually go back in here, maybe add a curves adjustment. Color correction, put that on top of the star texture. Maybe turn down the bright point. Turn up the black point. Something like that. Oh. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually create a black background inside of our star main. So new solid, black background. We'll call this BG for background. Hit OK. Bring it down to the bottom. So now what we're going to do is actually duplicate our background again. Command D, and we're going to call this one background stars. We're going to hit Shift Command Y to bring up the settings. And we're just going to make this little bit above medium gray. So about 65% maybe. All right, so now we're going to add the effect CC Starburst. Starburst. All right. Add that on top of our background stars layer. Turn down the speed to 0. We don't want them to move. Maybe turn up the scatter a little bit. First thing we're going to do is turn down the size. Maybe turn down the grid spacing a little bit. Turn the size back up. Basically just mess around till you find something that you think looks all right. There we go. That's fine. That's fine. All right. So now what we're going to do is make the stars twinkle a little bit, like a twinkling, twinkling little star. So what we're going to do is actually let's just duplicate our background, bring it above the background stars, and we're going to add a new effect here. It's called fractal noise. It's still fractal noise. All right, noise and grain, add that on top. We're not going to change much on it. We're going to bump up the contrast a little bit, bump up the brightness, maybe turn up the contrast even more. Go to transform, maybe scale it up. That's fine. All right, so we're going to go to evolution, alt-click on the stopwatch, and for this, you want it at a little bit of a slower speed, but I'm going to do, for the purposes of being able to see what's going on, maybe do 200. So what we're going to do is close this down right here, and under background stars, where it says track matte over here, we're going to set it to luma matte. Now, when I play this back, after I just poke out the eye of our star there, there you go. So now on top of all this, what we can do is maybe change the name of this to Star Matte. All right. So let's duplicate this one more time. Turn layer back on and just reset our fractal noise. And then what we're going to do is maybe turn up the contrast just a little bit, turn down the brightness just a little bit. Evolution, we can change our evolution by double tapping U. So double tap, and that'll bring up the expressions, and that'll actually bring up anything that was changed within this layer. So if anything's not default settings, it will actually show up when you double tap U. So anyway, we're going to do times 50. Right, so we're going to hit G on the keyboard to bring up the pen tool and make sure that our star mat is selected. And actually, let's just rename this to Space Dust. All right, so we can roll out our middle mouse button. All right, so we're just going to go up here and just start making some shapes, some random shapes. And what we can do is hit F on the keyboard to bring up the feather. Just kind of bring that up. Kind of a bigger feather here. And then we can go up to blending mode in our fractal noise and hit none. And I'll just kind of help the edges out a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do is hit T on the keyboard to bring up the opacity. And just bring it down a little bit. All right, so we can add another VC color vibrance. Here we go. Bring that on top. Maybe change that to like an orangish yellowish color. Like so. And we can set our space dust, the blending mode, to be add. We get the idea, right? So hit G on the keyboard. You can just make like another little nebulous space dust cloud thing. Like that. F. All right, so that's our star scene. There. Let's Shift Command H to hide those masks. All right. Now we're going to move on to the next one. All right, so the next one we're going to create here, and our final example in this fractal noise, is this waving flag or cloth kind of effect. It's a pretty simple one. It's only a couple layers, but a couple keyframes. That's it. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to do, create a new comp. We're going to call this one flag main. 1280 by 720 is just fine. All right, fit up to 100%. There we go. Close this out. Falg. Wow. We're good at spelling and things, right? Flag main. There we go. It's 4 letters. You think you can get it right, huh? All right, so now we're in our flag main. First thing we're going to do is, you guessed it, start off with a solid. We're going to call this flag motion. All right, so on top of this, we're going to put another fractal noise. Here we go, fractal noise. Put that right on top. And for this one, we're going to scale it up a lot. But we're also going to uncheck this uniform scaling so that we get non-uniform scaling. We're going to bump this up all the way to something like maybe 1100. And then we're going to take the height and bump that up a whole bunch as well. Maybe something like that. All right. So now we're going to animate the evolution. So Alt click on the stopwatch, go to time, times 100. Click outside of that. And now we have our little animation here. Maybe bump up the contrast just a bit. Maybe turn down the brightness a little bit. Maybe turn it up actually. All right, so we're going to go to the beginning here, and we're going to click on the stopwatch for offset turbulence right at the beginning here. And then we're going to go to the end, and we're going to go on the x-axis, so xy, so the first number, go all the way over here, right to about there. All right, so what we're going to do now is right-click, go to New, Solid, and we're going to change the color to be, I don't know, do blue. Maybe bring down the brightness. There we go. Something like that. And we're going to hit OK. Now what we can do is add another fractal noise. So we're going to go to Scale, and we're going to bring that down to 2. So just make it as small as it can go. And that's all we're doing for that. Except changing our blend mode to be overlay. We'll do soft light. We'll just do a soft light there. All right. So now we're going to right click and do new text. And we're going to type in our text. Maybe make this, bring up the size of it. Oh, stop it. And we can make sure this is aligned. Maybe bring it up even more. There we go. Whatever. It's fine. So we got our text. Now we can duplicate this layer. Command D. We can duplicate our original solid that we made here. Command D, maybe set the color. Shift Command Y to be like a brighter color. Something like that. And we can set the track matte to be alpha matte for the text. There we go. So this is our flag. So we can take our text and the 2 solids that we created, and we can pre-compose them. And we'll just call this flag PC for pre-composition. All right, so what we're going to do with this is over in Effects and Presets, we're going to add Displacement Map. All right, so it's under Distort Displacement Map. Add that right on there. We're going to change these to Luminance. And we're going to change the Displacement Map layer to be Flag Motion. And actually what we can do is pre-compose this flag motion. And make sure you move all attributes. And there you go. So now we have this. So we can change our displacement. You know, you can make it whatever direction you want. We're going to click Wrap Pixels Around. That'll kind of bring the edges out. So now we have this. All right, and there's just one more step, and that's it for this. We duplicate it, duplicate our flag motion, bring it to the top, and just set this to maybe like overlay or soft light. I don't know, we'll do overlay. All right, so if we play this back, we can see that, well, we can see it's a little too bright. So what we can do under flag motion, we can add a curves. There we go. Add that on top. Maybe bring down the white level just a bit so it's not so harsh. All right, so that's our final example there. Feel free for any of these to just go back and kind of mess around with the settings, really explore, get in there, get to know fractal noise, because I mean, as you have seen, it's very useful. but the whole idea is just experiment. The more you experiment with it, the better you'll get, the more ideas you'll come up with. Yeah, so that was it. Thank you for watching that 2-part episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope everything was kind of useful. If you have any questions or any ideas or suggestions for stuff you want to see done, just feel free to leave it in the comments. All right, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.